Hello, welcome to another report. I used to call these briefings. I might still end up calling them briefings here and there, but I'm trying to focus more to shifting on and to calling these reports. Because I want to not just give a briefing. I don't want to just be briefing meteorology. I want to be thinking meteorology. I want to be explaining meteorology. I want to be um, really giving you an idea and an understanding of what's going on in the atmosphere instead of just showing you fancy graphics. Um, I wanna really be able to communicate the weather processes that are happening. So we have a lot going on the satellite image here. I'm just gonna focus in on what's most relevant to weather in the Bay Area right now, where I'm based. I try to do a broad brush on the West Coast, but I do tend to focus in on the Bay Area. And so what we have here is this essentially a big trough of low pressure, a big dip in the jet stream. It's doing something like this. And we have that bringing a lot of rain into parts of California, particularly northern and central California, with this system a little bit down into the LA area as well. Um, but we can see here that we have our rain bands still advancing uh, through the Bay Area into the Sierra Nevada. We have bit of a surface low pressure system out here. It's weakened a bit, but still pretty much right off of the Bay Area. We have a cold front trailing south, and we have a warm front roughly over here over Northern California, and this is a dynamic weather system, and it's bringing us what much needed rain showers. And there's even a little breezy at times in some parts near the coast because of this surface low being so close. Um, and then you see you have all this moisture associated with the leading edge of the trough, where you get a lot of divergence aloft. You get a lot of rising air. As a consequence of that divergence aloft, the air is spreading out aloft, so you're losing mass in the column, and the air starts to rise at the surface in order to compensate for that loss. And so you get these clouds, prefrontal clouds, if you will, already streaming well into parts of the inner Mountain West here. So that's a big picture of what's going on right now. Now I'm going to show you the upper air height analysis, because I think that's really important for us to also continue to get our bearings on what's going on right now before we dive into model guidance. I'll try to show you here. Let's go. So this is yesterday afternoon. I think this is as close as we can get. But basically, as of yesterday, you can already see this well-pronounced trough of low pressure. So here's that trough in the jet stream that I was showing on the satellite. Here's that well depicted on the reanalysis of heights of 18,000 foot pressure heights. It's basically, to put it very basically, it's just showing you the where the warmer air columns and where the colder air columns are up aloft, even though it means a lot more than that. And I won't get into the too technical because I want most people to still be able to understand. So there's that upper low, there's a surface low associated with it roughly over here, as I was showing. And there's that cold front roughly somewhere over here. There's that cold air coming behind it. This precipitation gonna be ahead of it, roughly in here. So that's basically just kind of a more zoomed out view of what we were looking at on the satellite. Kind of gives you an idea of the big picture. Now we are going to look at radar. Let's look at current radar here. for the Bay Area this morning, and you can see those rain showers, more scattered in nature now as the main front starts to push to the east, but still a lot of activity. I mean, the Sacramento area is still getting a lot of pockets of moderate to heavy precipitation, snowing up in the Sierras. Snow level is about 5,500 or so this morning. Um, we have the potential for some colder systems to come in this weekend, which would bring us lower snow levels. But for now, we have a lot of good rain, a lot of good snow above 5,500. Um, and you have some heavier pockets of downpours in the Santa Cruz area as well. You have another round of showers offshore that will probably move into parts of the Bay Area within the next hour or two. And it looks like it will be sort of an on and off showers kind of day to day. So let me start out showing you. Now we get into model guidance. Now I'll always put this disclaimer: model guidance is just model guidance. It's just the computer models that we have out there doing their best given the current conditions that they're given to project what may happen in the future. Now, this is never going to be 100% accurate. We're not at that point where the models can have 100% accuracy. The models can't they can't always interpret everything that's going on with the atmosphere correctly. They're not able to do that, but we don't have stations and soundings taken everywhere. Matter of fact, I was gonna maybe show you a sounding, but I think that's gonna be a little complex and overwhelming for most people. So, but the sounding is basically taking a vertical slice of the atmosphere twice a day at several locations across the country. In the Bay Area, it's from Oakland. You have soundings launched twice a day, once at 4 a.m., once at 4 p.m. In the summer, it's 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. because it's a 12Z and 0Z. And you get basically a vertical picture, like from the surface all the way up to the top of the troposphere, of what the temperature is doing, what the wind is doing, what the pressure is doing, what are all these variables, and then it gives you a good picture of like how prime the atmosphere is for showers, or how dry it is, or is there a temperature inversion. It gives you a good idea of what's going on, and then that's what feeds into the models, so the models can do these projections. So now, with that said, with that out of the way, don't take model guidance as a forecast. Don't take it as what's gonna happen. Take it as guidance. Take it as what could happen. So I'm going to go ahead and show you that now. So let's look at the simulated precipitation on the HER model for the next 24 to 48 hours. Let's look at the longer run here, the 12Z run. So we go through this morning. Here's 9 a.m., 10, 11, 12. So at noon, there's that model wants to bring that, wants to hint at that next band of showers really coming in, and then through the afternoon, and then it wants maybe another, even until midnight, as we go into tomorrow morning. Could still be some residual showers there. Then it looks like it dries out for a bit. So go into tomorrow and then into Friday, have a nice dry break. Now we've got to go to a longer range model so I can show you a bigger picture in the long term. And I'll take it with a grain of salt, especially as we go further out in time. This is meant to be just guidance on what could happen. Here's the European model, the 0Z run. And we're going to go ahead and see here. So there's that dry break Thursday, Friday, as I was mentioning. Could be a little cold in the morning. A little cold air mass there with lots of radiational cooling overnight. Then we have this next trough come in. There's a next weather system. There's Sunday into Monday. A little cold air coming down with it. It doesn't look as cold as it was in previous runs. We'll have to see how that plays out. This next one behind it could be colder. I mean, take it with a grain of salt. I don't really want to forecast snow levels at this point, but let's just say we could have some pretty low snow levels, maybe a dusting on the Bay Area hills if we get a cold enough pattern with these storms, if we do get this cold air to come down as this moisture is wrapping around the trough here. So it's a cold pattern. I mean, what we're trying to do here is not look at the timing and intensity of the rain, but just look at the pattern. And you can see after this weekend, there are quite a few successive storms that come in. The storm door seems to really open up because we have this troughing pattern. Now the model has been showing this. The models have been showing this pretty consistently for the last few days, with this ridge out over the Pacific and this trough over the west coast, which facilitates the cold storms to come down. Allows cold storms to come down from the Gulf of Alaska one after the other. It allows this kind of pattern where the storm door is open. Earlier in the month, we had, or last month I should say, we had a very different kind of pattern. I'm going to pull up a blank. I'm just going to use a blank parameter, then I can show you just an empty, a blank map here, so I can explain what we had happening with the pattern last month, which was very different. Last month we had a big ridge over here over the west coast. We had a trough over the Gulf of Alaska. We had a trough further east of the Midwest and the East Coast. And what was happening with that pattern is that the storm door was closed. We had a blocking pattern where the storms were coming up and over. Sorry, apologies, my cat is vocal this morning. So we had the storms doing this, riding up and over this ridge and then just into the Midwest and the East Coast. That's what we call a closed storm door. Now we have an open storm door because this ridge has shifted east, and these storms are now able to come in as the trough is setting up overhead. And we have storms coming in like this, and they're colder storms too because they're coming from the northwest. If this had set up like this, the trough were still a bit offshore, you would have warmer storms. You would have rain, but storms would be a lot warmer because they'd be coming off of the Pacific, coming more from the southwest, coming from the tropics here. And with this kind of pattern that we did have over Christmas and early January, we got a lot of warm storms, and that wasn't very good for the mountains because they weren't getting a lot of snow. The ski resorts were seeing rain because the atmosphere was just too warm for it to snow all the way down to where some of these ski resorts are. But this is different. Now we have the trough is a little further in, and that helps us a lot because when that's the case, the storms come down from the Gulf of Alaska and they're cold storms. And that's what we want for snow. We want nice cold flow here, so we can get these colder storms in, get lower snow levels, and get good snow for the ski resorts. Because before we know it, a couple months from now, it'll be spring. And really, by the time we get to mid to late March, the atmosphere does start to change. Many times it does start to already show a spring-like pattern. And then especially as we get into April, rain and snow become significantly less frequent. and less common in the Bay Area. And then typically April to October, sometimes November, is the dry season for us. So we just really want to, in my opinion, I like to see as much rain as we can get, as long as it's not too much at once. It's nice to see these rainy systems, that because we need them. We need them now before this all shuts off for the summer. So yeah, good to see, encouraging. And this kind of pattern is what I like to see. Finally, some colder storms coming in. So that's what I have for today for this report. I hope you were able to get something out of this. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.